Picture this. You've just booted up Season 15. You've had your calendar marked for this moment. You glance over at your collection of distinction rings. You breathe out. I am going to be the first person to hit Distinction 5 in the Hunter's Call. You hop on a ship, grab some of your most nautically adept friends that you can find, and you set sail to hunt down treasured fish and mighty megalodons. You spend almost 8 hours of your day grinding your piratical behind off to earn some reputation. And when you turn it all in, your heart sinks. You only earned 5 levels of reputation. How could this be? You did everything right. You caught the fish, slew the ancient megalodons in glorious combat. You decide to blow off some steam. Head to bed. So you lay there wondering why you're just so unprogressed for your effort. You stare at Twitter and see people have already hit Distinction 5. And then you remember you're playing Sea of Thieves at the launch of a season. Hey, what is up, you piratical pirates? Hope you've been up to some nautical nonsense. If you haven't already heard, Season 15 is off to the races, and it's found itself in an all too familiar situation as seasons prior. A massive exploit has spread across the waves like dust to my upload schedule. While I could briefly talk about the exploit, I want to bring awareness as to why these things occur so frequently in this game and how Rare can actually combat this in a smart way instead of just tweaking values. Reputation exploits are akin to that of treadmill work. If you're unfamiliar with the term, then you don't play Team Fortress 2, because that was the phrase of the month over there for like ever. Basically, the developers over at Rare need to constantly be working around the clock to combat these issues. Just like how they handle hackers riddling Hourglass, it's sort of a long-term thing. They can't just instantly snap their fingers and everything's fixed. Either way, it's a huge commitment of resources that can seriously drain a development team. And when something so repetitive comes up like the flavor of the month reputation exploit, then who can really blame Rare for taking a quick way out and rolling back progress and gold earned from it? For those of you who have been playing for a while, you remember a certain exploit that found its way into the game. No, we aren't talking about the Burning Blade yet. We are talking about the Merchant Cargo exploit. About a year ago on this channel, I uploaded my first official Barnacle Berwick video, covering an ancient exploit that made it to where you could stack as many cargo quests as you wanted on a boat, and you'd only have to deliver it to one place. The thing that many people don't know about this exploit is that it existed in the game for years, pretty much ever since the mission type was introduced. While the origin of the exploit is a mystery even to me, since a buddy of mine at the time actually told me about the exploit since he was going for his legendary equipment, the exploit was still relatively the same. By cycling 7 quests at a sea post, you could get a repeat cargo run to the same destination as the first initial cargo quest. While at the time, that was insane. In practice, it wasn't really good. See, back then, you actually had to buy missions, and you couldn't really stack a whole bunch since you had a maximum of 3 missions that you could hold on to. And when we started that exploit way back in the day, we came to the realization that it wasn't worth the time we put in. We could have made more money and more deliveries in the time it took us to cycle those quests by having one person server hop and then buying more Ashen cargo quest. It wasn't until Season 11 when I made my video that it became mainstream again. That initial difficulty was removed by the introduction of Infinite Quest via your Captain's Table. While that did get patched, something worse happened because of it. The Merchant Alliance lost its fastest way to earn reputation. Exploit or not, you still had to deliver the cargo on time and in good condition to reap the rewards. But instead, Rare just slapped a fix on the missions and moved on instead of filling the gap of what players wanted from that. After hitting Merchant 500 recently on stream, I can say with pure sincerity that it is flat out the worst trading company in the game at the moment. And that's saying a lot since Hunter's Call is literally just 2 fishing quests right now. But at least it's going to be getting more content. So what should have Rare done? Well, personally, introducing a higher caliber of cargo quest or just a higher level of quest in general to earn more loot but at a higher risk. Something to sort of balance out that risk reward that players were going for with that exploit. Players were able to stack a massive amount of loot, but with that risk of sinking or losing quality of the loot to where you couldn't sell it for as much, or actually going back and fixing other quests for the Merchant Alliance. For instance, the Ashen Lost Shipment quest doesn't give you Ashen loot. I've done at least 200 of them solo, and the amount of times I would sail away from one of these with exclusively sugar and tea was frustrating beyond belief. While raising the level cap to 500, Rare inadvertently caused the completionists in their community to try and cut corners and do things as quickly as possible to earn their rings and be done of it. I assure you that everyone who posted their Merchant 500 rings that month following the launch of the level cap abused the hell out of this. And is there anything particularly wrong with that? No, of course not. Do you get mad at speedrunners for using every glitch and exploit they can to get the fastest time? Of course not as well. But this isn't a speedrun. This is an online game. This is Sea of Thieves. A different exploit I want to bring up for the sake of having a scapegoat is the Burning Blade stacking exploit. This one was a bit crazy in comparison to the prior, as it consisted of duping the amount of skeleton camps completed while sailing for the Burning Blade. This led to insane amounts of gold and reputation being earned for the Reapers as well as any other faction you wanted. This exploit was where the line in the sand was drawn, since pirates would earn crazy amounts of money for little to no work. The only real challenge was keeping your boat afloat before other emissaries came in and tried to sweep up your Burning Blade's blade of souls. Okay, editor Berwick, separate other occasion, whatever. Why is it called the Burning Blade, like blade of souls? Why are there too many blades? Too many blades! Okay, we can go back now. If you're unaware with how this works, you have to have been living under a rock when it first came out. Because, just do me a favor real quick. Go up to that search bar on YouTube and just type in Burning Blade exploit, and you'll have hundreds of hours to just sift through of different people either thinking or doing the exploit. It basically allowed you to turn one skeleton camp completed into upwards of 4, which you can really see how the gold amounts would start to snowball. The main issue with this exploit was just that any faction could randomly be hit with a 30 million gold nuke, just have it instantly skyrocket up to a comical amount of reputation, possibly instantly hitting 500 based on how much you did it. The difference between this and the cargo exploit was that on one hand, you had to do an insanely large amount of work. You would still be at risk of losing everything, be it from actually stacking the cargo, making sure it didn't get damaged, and also delivering it on time. But most importantly, you also had to start a new quest for it. You were still within the confines of the quest system for Sea of Thieves. But this was something that you could just instantly do as long as you had 3 other people, or hell, just 1 other person. This, without any thought, was instantly spotted by Rare, and swift rebukes were felt. People watched as almost their entire bank account in Sea of Thieves got pilfered because of a massive gold rollback for anyone who partook in the exploit. Now, this was met with mostly, both sides. Some people were very happy that this was removed, and other people were like, well, I did fair work. I sunk people to get this. And that's the stupid opinion. Because let's be honest, there's no way to tell if you actually sunk someone to get that, or if you just sunk the Burning Blade yourself and then sold the, Anyways, so what about this new exploit? The Infinite Treasured Fish exploit. For those unaware, all you had to do was to get a large fishing voyage at Devil's Ridge, fish up the undesirable fish, and usually leave a wrecker, battlegill, or stormfish in the water. One pirate would cast their line out and the others would follow. When someone would catch the real fish, the others would also have their line pulled as if they were also catching it. The person with the real fish would break their line, and the others could just reel it up with ease. No struggle from the fish. And that would duplicate the fish upwards of 3 times in less than a minute. You could catch up to 3 treasured stormfish valued at 4,500 gold without a grade 5 flag every 30 seconds. This fell into the category of too strong for the work done. The issue with this exploit is that while you still technically have to go and sell the fish to earn the rep, you are basically manipulating an obvious bug to duplicate fish. This is more akin to the Burning Blade exploit rather than the Merchant one, since the latter still required you to manually deliver each piece of cargo in good condition, as well as to vote up a new quest for every voyage, not abuse a very finicky system already in the game. And Rare brought down the hammer. Yeah, real smart of me to work on a video where things are updating every day, so this is recording number 3 for this video. Anyways, Rare made a statement basically claiming that the amount of pirates abusing this exploit were on an all-time low, and they could be relatively more strict in their punishment, being resetting those pirates back down to level 50. Rare's go-to strat of patching the bug and moving on is not enough anymore. Now, the status quo is we've begun to see economy and reputation rollbacks. While this works as a band-aid fix, it never really solves the main issues of why players continue to find these exploits. The grind is either not rewarding enough to justify the in-between time of the higher levels, or the reputation given for time invested isn't balanced. Currently, as of me making this video, I recently spent 5 hours playing live on stream sailing for the Hunter's Call. I did world events, raid voyages, fought other emissaries, stole their loot, and killed like 4 ancient megalodons, while I barely earned 5 levels from my adventure. Rare did eventually listen to our pleas and fix the Hunter's Call rep modifier to be more in line with other factions. Okay, normally I would be a little critical, but I gotta give credit where it's due. Rare fixed that in a relatively quick time when in comparison to their track record. But one could make the argument that that's the bare minimum, and that should have been present at launch for the season. And well, I personally haven't had time to check out the new modifiers, but from what I've heard from my guildmates, it seems to be insanely better, which is good. But imagine before this change happened, if you will. Take a bunch of completionists who all want their new cool cosmetics to show off, and then tell them that they have to spend 50 hours to get to level 100, and then 450 hours to get max distinction. Yeah, I can understand why they would have wanted to cut corners. I've been advocating for the Hunter's Call for the longest time, and I won't lie, I was also bummed that the reputation was not as rewarding as it was at launch, and I can't blame pirates who used this exploit. And on the opposite side of that coin, I can also really see why people would be frustrated, because they look and see all these people having fun with all the new Hunter's Call unlocks, and they're sitting there 10 hours deep and still level 60. Let's pull back the curtain for a moment, shall we? Let's talk about the overall root of exploits. See, when you leave players to their own devices, they will find bugs. Some of them will be silly ones that have niche effects on gameplay, while others are game-defining. As an example, I want to bring up a pretty important game. As all of you may know, I am a big Team Fortress 2 fan, so of course I've heard tales of wonder from the godfather of FPS games being Quake. If any of you have heard the phrase bee-hopping, then you'll understand what I mean. Bee-hopping was an exploit you could perform by timing your jumps in a certain way to retain your momentum and therefore speed up. While it could have been patched out, it wasn't, since it enhanced gameplay for everyone. It raised the skill ceiling and also allowed players to express their skills. Something similar happened with Sea of Thieves back at launch. Many of you know this by now, but the sword lunge wasn't supposed to send you flying in the water, but it became such a crucial part of the game's player base that it stayed in the game. So Rare has done something like this in the past, but I fear stuff like this won't happen as much. We've seen Crud launches come and go. Ladder launching, while still being in the game, is a limit of the engine's design and most likely won't be fixed for a long time. At the end of the day, I can only hope Rare will understand why players want to exploit and simply provide a better alternative. Just like when it was obnoxiously difficult to do the original merchant cargo exploit. Rare needs to find a way to subtly show off that yes, you can exploit, but you could save time and make more money and reputation playing the game as intended instead of just ignoring the reasons pirates seek that shortcut. it shouldn't be some moral dilemma on whether or not you should exploit, especially if it isn't hurting other players, besides those who need validation on social media. To wrap this up, I want to fully state that I don't like exploiting in Sea of Thieves, but at the same time, I can't just ignore some of these insane techs to stay ahead of the game. The amount of exploits in this game reveals the discomfort that the dedicated player base has with the game state, be it the difference between there not being an easy way to catch running ships, or the grueling grind for Distinction 5. If you're watching this in a few years down the line, I'm willing to bet you this video still holds some value. Until then, I do think Rare will continue to patch exploits as they have been in the past, but I wouldn't put it past them to start adapting to what their player base wants. Either way, I'm just happy that I can go back to fishing. I stream 3 times a week now over on Twitch, so if you're looking for a laid-back fishing stream, then pop in once in a while. The streams are super cozy and always a good time. Thank you all for watching, and if you found this video entertaining, please make sure you subscribe and like the video. And of course, as always, pirates, I will see you when I see you. Take care.